103.2 Preston FM.
We dare to be different.
It's nice to welcome into the studio Paul Greenwood, and Paul is from Preston Environmental Forum. So, Paul, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
And I must admit, I see lots of messages to me it seems all over the place about Preston Environmental Forum, but I've got to be honest and say I have no idea what it is. So can you tell us about?
Well, all over the place is good, because Preston Environmental Forum does cover the whole of Preston and a lot of different activities going on in Preston. Right. But probably to give your listeners a kind of an understanding of what the forum is all about, it's probably better to kind of describe the situation before the forum. In Preston, like many other towns and cities, there's a lot of community environmental activities going on and community projects. There's groups like the Friends of Ribbleton Library in Ribbleton and Moornook Community Allotments, and there's Ashton Weed and Feed in Ashton. There's Broadgate Residents Association doing environmental works. There's Longsands Community Association. There's Friends of Highgate Woods. There's plenty of them all around the town. All of them doing fantastic work, all of them very focused on the projects that they're interested in and the bits of land. They might be Friends of Woodlands, community gardens, food growing projects and so on. But the idea of the forum was to say, okay, there was all these different groups going on. Really, it'd be a good idea to try to bring them together in a network so they can support each other, share ideas with each other, find out who's doing what, and basically getting that connectivity across the city. So in the first instance, that is what the forum was all about, is that network of those community environmental projects. And it's working very well in that respect. It's a lot of the information that you describe is that network operating. It's about saying who's doing what and what's happening when. And there's a lot going on in Preston, as you've probably seen, and if your readers have seen anything on Facebook, you've seen there's plenty of activities. The other side of the forum, though, we kind of thought that what we can try and do is say, well, we've got all these people with all these interests and these skills and this knowledge. We collectively could use them to do projects. The forum could do projects itself. So in some ways, you could say the forum has two sides to it. One is the network and promoting the activities of individual projects around the town. But the other side of it is the forum doing its own projects and drawing on the skills and expertise of members within the forum itself. There's about 33 groups registered with the forum. Right. But there's also about 300 people in Preston registered as members of the forum, whether that's through the mailing list or through Facebook. Some very actively involved, coming along, getting involved in volunteer activities. Some more interested in just knowing what's happening and what's going on. So the forum, as I said, works quite well as a network, but also runs its own projects. One of the projects it runs is what we call Green in the City, and that is about looking around the city at places which the forum can improve in some way, mostly involving planting and mostly involving pollinator planting that's good for bees and butterflies. And so we have a couple of projects that we're working on. One of the main projects which I've really come to talk about today is the corn exchange beds. Some of your listeners may be aware of the very large beds in the centre of town next to the corn exchange. Well, the forum has got permission of Preston City Council to take on the management of those beds. And it's a long-term management. It's a long process. They're very big beds and it's a very big job. Won't be an instant quick fix. But the plan is to work with the forum and volunteers to try and make those beds full of colour, full of plants, and full of plants which are good for bees and butterflies. So we've been organising a number of volunteer activities over the winter. A lot of it really has been about the hard work of digging and weeding, because there's a lot of preparation work to do in them. And we've had volunteers from the University of Central Lancashire and their Green Ladder project. We've had volunteers who live locally from lots of different groups coming along. And slowly we're starting to make an impact on those. And I think as spring starts to move in, hopefully people will start to see that. This time of year, it's difficult to see the results of your labour. It's all about digging and weeding and see a lot of growing, preparing things. Yeah. Now, obviously, we need plants to go in those beds. The forum itself is going to be growing some plants from some greenhouses it's just putting up at the moment. But also we devised a scheme which we call the plant donation scheme. Because this time of year, a lot of keen gardeners around the town will be splitting plants in their gardens. And some of them they'll use in different areas of the gardens, but some of them they might be willing to donate to the forum to be able to put into those beds. We've had 2 sessions already. One was at Ribbleton Library, and we had some plants donated there. We had another session this weekend at the Continental in Broadgate, and again, thankfully some volunteers came along and donated some plants. So thank you very much to everybody who's offered plants already. But we have 2 more activities. One is this Saturday, the 22nd of March, which actually will be at the Corn Exchange beds. Now, what we're asking people to do on Saturday, if they're willing to come along and help out, one, there's some digging to do, a bit of weeding to do, but also we will have some plants to plant, so there will be some planting. But also, if anybody is splitting any plants in their garden, they can bring them along and they can donate them to the forum. However, we do have a stipulation in the plants that we're looking for, because, as you know, any good garden will know, you can't just put anything in anywhere, and we need to think about introducing weeds into the bed and other things. So we need to be careful what we put in. So we have drawn up a list of the plants we're looking for. It is an extensive list. Right. I don't know if you want me to read it out now, or
you could certainly give us a shout of some of them, and we can also put this up on our Facebook page.
Sure, if you can put it up on your Facebook page, that'd be brilliant, because it is a list, and we're kind of very particular because we want to make sure we get the right plants.
Yeah, we'll do that for you.
So, but some of the things we're looking for that people will be familiar with, which is geraniums, cranesbill, herbaceous geraniums of any colour, rudbeckia, goldstrum, most people will be familiar with that, and bright yellow plant later in the summer. Sedum, large autumn flowering types, Japanese anemones, any colour, veronica, yarrow, iris, red hot pokers, any colour, daylilies, salvia, ferns. Basically, it's herbaceous plants that are quite hardy plants. They can survive with minimal management, and are also very good for bees and butterflies. So, as I said, that is one of the activities of the forum. Those corn exchange beds, hopefully over time, working with volunteers, and we want to try and build up a team of volunteers that be willing to work on those over maybe on a weekly basis as an ongoing volunteer activity. But the forum has other projects. We've got a big, what we call a bee meadow in Broadgate, which is a wildflower meadow essentially, but because it's an urban environment, we're thinking we're not going to keep strictly to native wildflowers. The important aspect of it is to introduce more pollinators and bee and butterfly friendly planting. So there are other plants going in there which might not strictly be native wildflowers. Hopefully this year we're going to get a lot of poppies in, with it being the anniversary of the First World War.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And there are many of us around the town. Hopefully this year the forum is going to develop significantly. At the moment it is a constituted community group. It has a strong community made up of community volunteers, but we're hoping to move into a home where we can operate from. We're hoping to get more volunteers involved, hoping to provide training, and we're looking for people who will be interested in getting involved in the forum. Either that's by coming along and doing some planting and digging, or by getting involved in helping promote the forum, or help get involved with fundraising with the forum. We are hopefully building a strong link again with the University of Central Lancashire and a student media company there who are going to do some marketing for us. So this year is looking very positive.
Right.
But what we really need are volunteers and people to come along and help us make the city look bright. The whole purpose, the aim of the forum at the end of the day is to put Preston on the map that says this is where really good community volunteer activity happens. But in order to achieve this, we really need people to come along and get involved and help us do it and be part of it. They'll be doing it themselves.
And it does make a difference, doesn't it? Because I walk nearly everywhere, but I was in the car the other day coming near the exchange, and I noticed that we've now got plants all along the carriageway that goes up past the court, and it looks really nice. It's colourful, and it makes a difference in the middle of a city when you're stuck in traffic. And I was looking at the plants, and I thought, wow, this is nice. And for people who don't know, the exchange is on, it's just near there, isn't it?
The Corn Exchange beds are basically at the bottom of Loon Street.
Loon Street.
It's where the old public hall is. There are two large semicircular beds and two long beds which are stretching on towards Friargate. we won't be able to do the whole lot in 1 year. It's something we're going to work on. The more volunteers we get involved, the more that we can do. And I see it really as it's a really good city centre project where the people of Preston can really get involved and say, I can be involved in making my city look good. And it's going to be a big flagship project for the forum. Everybody involved in the forum can be proud of what we've achieved in there. And hopefully we can make it look absolutely fantastic. And it should be in the city centre.
Yes,
it should look really, really nice. But it is going to be about people coming along and helping us do it. And
I'm sure lots of people, including probably myself, often think that it's the council who actually does all this.
Yeah, I mean, largely it is the council. All the beds, all the planting that you described running up the ring road, that is done by the council. But as we know, in these times, councils have been hit very hard. And although those beds are the property of the council, they belong to Preston City Council, the reality of the situation is that with the budget cuts they're facing now, that it's never going to be, they're not going to have the capacity to do with those beds to the extent that they would like to do so. But the way I see the forum is it's not, in a sense, the council or not the council. It's about a partnership between the council and local people and community groups. Now, although it is the forum that are taking on those beds, they're still very supported by Preston City Council and giving the forum a lot of support. But it's about saying, okay, sometimes it's not just about saying, right, the council should do that. It's about saying, I'm from Preston, I live here, I work here,
I agree.
I have a role in contributing to my city as well, and I would like to get involved and help my city look good. And the forum is going to try and provide opportunities for people to do that. But it's about the partnerships with the council, city council, county council, other organisations like the Wildlife Trust are heavily involved, the university, housing associations and churches. And it's about a partnership more than just individual responsibilities, I think.
OK, Paul, can you tell our listeners where they can find out more about the forum? They can come along on Saturday to the Corn Exchange.
Yeah.
Where can they find out more about you?
Sure, they can come along, as I say, on Saturday on the 10 till 12 at the Corn Exchange. Also, there's another donation on Sunday the 30th of March, and that's at Ashton Park Pavilion. So again, they can come along and donate plants there. If you want to know more about the forum, I've got contact details of Chris Taylor, who works for Lancashire Wildlife Trust. His telephone number is 07967 820 744, and his email address is ctaylor, TAYLOR, at LANCSWT, that's lancswt.org.uk. Alternatively, there's a Facebook site. There's Preston Environmental Forum Facebook. If you search on Preston Environmental Forum, you'll find it there. But there's also a Project Dirt site. Now, Project Dirt is a green social network. It's like Facebook, but it's specifically for community environmental projects.
Right.
And if you want to have a look at that, that's www.projectdirt.com/cluster/Preston.
Brilliant. OK, and we'll put reference to those contact details on our Twitter and on our Preston FM Facebook page. Paul, can I thank you for coming in this morning and telling us all about the forum? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you've enjoyed the interviews as much as we have. Why not give us a tweet at ChatCityPFM?